Today we're talking about something every man should be thinking about: how to be a better man in your relationship. Now, I'm not talking about Johnny, Marty, just about being nice or doing a quick fix with a date night. No, we're talking about the real stuff that builds lasting, meaningful relationships, purposeful relationships, purposeful partnerships. Let's get into number one. And I got to tell you, Johnny, I'm looking at you, brother, to start this one because you taught me something here over the last few weeks that I'm going to be vulnerable about, and I'm going to offer up onto the conversation to get the things going here. But topic number one, and this is the easy one, nation, and I'm going to tell you guys, there might be a lot of agreement happening on the show today because I don't know if I want to have a lot of argument. I really want to encourage you guys listening right now to lean into some of the things we're saying and hopefully leave the call going, yeah, okay, I'm going to try some of these things myself. Hopefully, you're going to go back into your own world after the show today and activate some of the things we're going to talk about. But number one, Johnny, Marty, Christina, communication, the foundation of healthy relationships. According to a 2023 study by the Gottman Institute, couples who practice active listening are 20% more likely to report relationship satisfaction than those who don't. John, you spend a lot of time in high stress environments, the wrestling ring, the bodybuilding stage, the strongman stage, your wonderful partnership with Terry. Talk about how communication has been the number one key for you on all those relationships, whether it was getting in the ring to dance with your wrestling partner, whether it was to spend time with your wife, with your children. Let's really lean into the power of communication. And then I'm going to share with you what you taught me over the last couple of weeks and offer some vulnerability to nation. John Anderson.
That's a great topic for sure. Me personally, what I've had to really focus on is I'm really good at explaining how I feel, but I've actually had to put a lot of effort into making sure that I truly listen to the person across from me, not just hear them. I'm talking really listen and be involved in what they're saying, because communication goes two ways. And to really connect, the person across from you needs to know that you're hearing, understanding. And I know for me personally, when I really was intentional about listening to that person, here's the cool thing. It became a lot more interesting to me. It became a lot easier for me to have good conversations and connect with those people because I was far more interested because I was paying attention. So for those of you that have a hard time, connecting with the person across from you, listen with a little more intention, and you'll be quite surprised how much easier it's going to get.
And let's be clear here. This is not our natural state of being. And it's completely normal that it's not our natural state of being. We have to, they call it active listening, because if we just did it automatically, we would just do it automatically. We don't. So we have to be, like John said, we have to be intentional, and we have to make a conscious effort to be able to do it. The fact that you don't do it already, it's all good. Like, we all struggle with that. Just, I think a lot of us are focusing on how do I finish up so I can get to my point. Whereas, like, really quite often your point is often irrelevant or not necessary if you just listen to what they said and build off the conversation naturally in that way. What do you think, Marty?
I agree. And I think people listen to respond instead of listening to understand. That's basically what that is. You just wait until I shut up so you can get your points off, right? And that's super selfish. And so definitely active listening, but you also got to be proactive about your communication as well. We aren't mind readers. If there's a problem, I can't tell that you got an issue with this. So just talk to me. I probably don't even know I'm being annoying, or you don't know you're being annoying. It goes both ways, communicating and listening. Both are super important.
You know what's incredible though, right? Is that we spend time with our loved ones, our partners who we are vulnerable with, we are in love with, we are in like with, but yet it appears when it comes to communicating the tough things, we seem to avoid it. And why is that? Why do we avoid talking about the bedroom? Why do we avoid talking about the tough things as humans? Is it just, is it natural? Is it just this whole idea that some men are like, you know what? I don't want to talk about it. I don't need to share my feelings. I'm good with it. Like, why is it so difficult for us all still to share our feelings and talk?
I think when it comes down to what you're just talking about here, Keith, I think it's got really to do with the person who's having difficulty talking becoming really comfortable with who they are, meaning being yourself and not worrying about being judged, not worrying about the uncomfortable moment, just truly just being yourself. And when you can be yourself and you can speak candidly about what you're truly curious about and what you feel, it's good. It completely opens up another dimension of conversation and a new dimension of life for that matter. But I think that's the hiccup. I think too many people are afraid to just truly be themselves because they're so afraid of being judged or they're so afraid of what the other person is
Well,
going to
I'll tell you something, Johnny. Since we've been hanging out, I've really been leaning into a lot of the things. Sorry,
We hear you.
We hear you. He didn't say anything.
so you guys, I'm gonna step out here for a quick second. I'm having some technical difficulties here. So Christina, you keep this conversation rolling here. I'll be back in a quick second. Okay, I'm gonna do a pause here.
Okay, I totally agree with you, Johnny. But real talk here, you talk about the impact of wiring on our brains. I don't know about y'all, but I was not raised in an environment where talking about your feelings was all that welcomed. And it wasn't intentional. I love my parents, but it wasn't intentional. But it was just like in every way, shape, or form, whether it was parents, whether it was aunts and uncles, whether it was grandparents, whether it was teachers, it was like kids are to be seen and not heard. Don't talk
I
about what you
totally
gotta
with you
say.
there.
Same here.
I understand that. I totally, and I think part of me being learning to be who I was probably some sort of a stance against that.
Yeah. What about you, Marty? Did you grow up in a household where it was
Yeah,
welcome to
but
share your feelings?
feelings didn't play a part in my household at all. I don't think I don't think it was on purpose, but I think maybe, and I don't know, maybe Johnny, maybe your generation was taught what Christina was talking about. The kids are to be seen and not heard. You know, and I struggled with that as I got older and got into relationships. I didn't know how to express myself because anytime I did, it got shut down. And I think we got to be considerate of that with our partners as well, and be willing to have some patience and work with them and have that open communication to tell them about, hey, it's okay. You can talk here. You can express yourself here.
In this, so this all what we're saying is so true. But I think one of the things that we've got to remember here is this is like a work in progress. This is something we got to practice. This is something we got to get better at every day. This is something we can't just wish for and it's going to show up. We, no matter where we started, no matter what we were promoted to do, we know what we want to do. It's a matter of being active and intentional about being better. Like what originally I was talking about, how I had to be more intentional. Listen, I was really good at expressing myself, but I was terrible at listening to how the other person felt. Even if it had to do with what I said, I was always listening to what they said, just positioning what I wanted to say next, not really digesting what they were saying. So it turned out to be really lopsided communication, which was not helping anybody, including myself.
I feel the same way. And I think a lot of that does have to do with the permission that we had to talk or not talk because you had only like a little sliver of a moment to try to get your thought or get your feeling in. Oh, wait, but no, I got something to say. And it's like all these things we've been conditioned to over time. And then, in fairness, like then we're thrown into adulthood. None of us have these communication skills, which is really what they are. We're thrown into adult situations and adult relationships, and all of a sudden told you need to fucking know how to communicate, where it's very much so a skill. Marty, from your
Mhm.
perspective, how has that skill developed for you? Like, how have you seen yourself consciously developing the skill, knowing it's important? Oftentimes that comes with mistakes.
I'll say this. I think a lot of people, and your career might not be like mine, but one thing that helped me was being a trainer. I'm like that extended family. So I had to talk to
You're
people.
like a psychologist.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm telling you, unlicensed therapist at this point. But I had to listen to people's problems. I had to really tap in and understand what they're going through. And then even issues with, okay, you're not getting the results you want. I might have a client just disappear. And it's like, why'd you disappear? Da-da-da-da. They tell me what wasn't happening. And so it's like, you got to communicate that. Now I realize how toxic that can be. Somebody will do that and talk bad about my training. So, and we didn't even have this conversation. So I would say if you have a career where you have to communicate to be successful, I would say lean into that and really pay attention to that and bring it into your personal life as well.
We
All right.
are back, Keith. We have not gone into topic number 2. So passing the baton, you got this.
Let's keep rocking and rolling here. All right, we're gonna get to number 2 here before we head over to the fit tip here. A little bit of internet challenges this morning. So vulnerability was the next one here that came up on the stage here, where topic number 2 was emotional availability, strength or weakness. Let's tackle vulnerability. The American Psychological Association 2022 team found that men who are emotionally available and express their feelings regularly experience a 30% fewer relationship conflicts compared to those who don't. What role do you think emotional openness plays in relationships? How can men strike the balance between showing vulnerability and maintaining their sense of strength? Marty, vulnerable or not vulnerable with your partners?
You got to be vulnerable. You absolutely have to be. And I'm not going to lie, a lot of men, we struggle with that, including myself, because you can't just walk around as a man being vulnerable all day and every day and people going to listen to your problems. I feel like some women can get away with it more than men are. That's just the way it goes. But you have to be. And if you have a good partner, she's going to pull it out of you. Or she'll know if something's wrong. I'm sure Terry and I'm sure Lauren do that with you guys, fellas.
Yes. Johnny, what about yourself, pal? Talk about vulnerability and how, as a 52-year-old man, learning new tricks every single day. Is vulnerability part of your makeup, Johnny, or did you have to lean into learning that?
As I became more of a man, as I grew into myself, I quickly realized that being vulnerable is strong.
Yes.
It takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable. Now, there's a difference between walking around. I'm not talking about being vulnerable, walking around playing the victim. I'm talking about walking around being bold enough to let people know that you might have the same problem they do, or you have this problem and you're actively working on it. You're not looking for some sort of you're not looking for sympathy. You're just having the balls, the guts, the strength to share with other people that they're not alone.
Yes. Yeah. Vulnerability is a powerful thing. When you decide that superpower is something you want to put on the table, and to Johnny's point, instead of walking around just throwing it out there all the time, when you use it and people can see it and see how authentic you are, it certainly is a magical power that you can bring to the table. But hey, listen, let's do this. Let's do the fit tip. See Marty fit.
Come on, man.
Coming up here on a Monday here. 32 minutes after the hour, Marty fit tip. Yours, Marty. You're up there, pal. Let's do it.